So the next level in the abundance pyramid, for lack of a more graceful term, we've been calling price-based mutual credit. But basically, this is a level that starts to bridge more business as usual and more bank money constructs with the friendly mutual credit economy. So, in its purest form, and this is what I aspire to do more. So, we're not doing it so much yet, but it has been done, again throughout human history. So basically, this is a form of mutual credit where we just put a price on it. So it's like time banking, where we have a network, it's open to whoever we've chosen it to be open to. So we have a network, we're extending credit to each other, but this time the credit is denominated usually in our national currency. So here we have it, the Madison Mutual Aid Network. You can currently use price-based mutual credit in the Madison Mutual Aid Network and in our humans home marketplace. So we are set up to do this, and all we need is for people to play with it. And basically, my business could buy a refrigerator from your business for $2,000 worth of credits. We would exchange those just like we do in the time bank. And again, we have this already set up. We can do this right now. We would exchange that. I would owe $1,000 worth of goods and services into the network, but we would account for it like we had done a regular old money transaction. I would pay the taxes on it. It would count toward our income so we can be clean with our taxing authorities, but it's still friendlier because I'm owing in goods and services to other members of the network. Yeah, I don't have to get my hands on that cash. I might not have to get a loan for it. I might be able to use that cash to pay off my credit so I don't have to accrue interest. So there are a lot of ways you save money by doing that, but you also strengthen your local network, just like time banking does. So strengthens the network of local businesses. It helps counter some of those economies of scale that drive us toward selling out and selling out and selling out and conglomerating. So we can conglomerate cooperatively and exchange through mutual credit with each other and pay the taxes on it, have greater liquidity and a friendlier local network, and incentives for consumers to shop local too. So businesses and consumers can all be part of that network. It doesn't need to be limited. In our world, it's not. Um, so this is an aside, and it's an important one to me, but our version of mutual aid networks, we really want to break down all kinds of the barriers that separate humans. And some of those barriers have been built into how our economic life is structured, and they don't need to be. So separating the barriers, you're not either a producer or a consumer, and you're not a giver or a receiver, and you're not you're not the person who makes the sole of the shoe. So, in our economic vision that we're working toward, everyone's a whole human with all of the skills that you're bringing to that, all of the needs that you're bringing to that. So, our version of mutual aid network cooperatives are multi stakeholder cooperatives. So, if you're not familiar with that term, that just means a kind of cooperative where people on all sides of the economic equation are invited to be members. So, for example, I have a grocery store co-op in my neighborhood, the Willie Street Co-op. It's famous. It's I operate in that co-op as a consumer, and and there's also cooperatives that are entirely worker cooperatives where their workers own and run the cooperative. And yeah, so mutual aid networks, we're producers and consumers, and we don't create those distinctions. Although in any one mutual aid network as your own cooperative, you can create your own rules, and we're built to experiment. So, price based mutual credit is something we aspire to do much more of because we think it can really bridge some of the gaps in our economic life, and things are harder for small businesses all the time. And we see ways that we can create better links between small businesses and community and nonprofit organizations and little co-ops and things like that. There are some tools that we're using now that also help create the bridge uh, between business and community life. So, one of these things, and this is a good example of how mutual aid networks work, also, because our version of mutual aid networks and the humans are about being a peer support community and peer workflow and recognizing that what we need it exists in the world already, that a lot of the dreams that we have and visions we have for different economic pieces have also been dreamed up by other people who are smarter than we are, who've focused that direction, and have created these things. So one of these partners that we found on one of our solidarity sprint tours is commongood.earth, and this combines several of the different functions that we envision for the kind of economy we want to live in. So basically, commongood.earth, I can put money on a fee-free debit card, and in my community, everyone's money is going into the same account that's managed by Common Good. And while our money's in that account, we can be spending on our debit card and just marking the transactions back and forth. We're just circulating on our card, spending it at local businesses, and with each other. And they make it really easy to round up on purchases. You can round up on every purchase and still not be paying as much as you are when you use Visa or PayPal or things like that. And that money is all going into your community account, and we can choose to give out no interest loans or even grants off of that community account. And then people agree to back it in different ways that, again, have been figured out by the Common Good community. So it's a great way to try out organizational partnerships. It's a great way to have this kind of thing flowing in the community and practice with it, to start practicing with shared governance, to make it visible to customers of a business what's involved in transaction fees, the different dynamic of either letting the bank take your money and lend it out how they want to, or us doing the same thing, recognizing how that works all the time and doing it ourselves. Yeah, so commongood.earth, I really recommend that people check it out. It's only available in the United States right now, but we have friends and partners in the UK who are looking at how they could adapt it there. Yeah, so basically, when we need a bridge to the monetary world and the business world, one exists, and we need to just practice with it. And I want to give some credit to the history of this. Let systems are still operating. A lot of the French-speaking world in Europe has been using let systems, and it is usually a form of price-based mutual credit. Some let systems also operate like time banks and exchange in time. That's one of the things that we have decided to play with in our version of mutual aid networks is keeping separate the money equivalency, keeping that price-based mutual credit separate from the time banking, because they have different dynamics in our vision of economic life. Each one has a somewhat different role, and it's good to keep them separate. So that's how we play with it. But there are a lot of experiments to learn from. I'll share a little bit more about the way our mutual aid network construct of combining cooperative governance and ownership and peer-to-peer workflows with the tools makes a difference. A lot of let systems and time banks, or I would say it's kind of a universal condition. It's hard to keep them flowing, and it requires a lot of care and maintenance and a lot of input. And in our perspective, in this version of mutual aid networks, by using those things in part of a workflow where you see it as your employment essentially, and where you see it as gainful employment because you see that your credits can be spent on things that you need. I think we're expecting that to be a key to having these things flow better. You're going to do the work you wanted to do anyway. We're going to pay you via mutual credit. That's more convenient to accept. It's more plentiful. It's more easily on offer. It's aligned with your values, and you can easily see how you're going to use that to meet your actual needs. That there's not a technical barrier to doing that. The only barrier to doing that is enough people doing it with enough variety of offers and needs to make it work for each of us. That's not that many people. And I think that's one of the things that those of us with experience in time banking have really understood. I think that's a reason people get so excited to share their experience with time banking with the world. Is it's not just that you see you can exchange time for time. Like, that seems very basic once you've learned about it and you're like, well, duh, of course you can do that. But it's that you see the potential, like, okay, if every group of 4 or 5 can match the offers and needs, it isn't rocket science. It's not most of the people. It's definitely not all of the people who have to participate in this to make it start to flow. So I think that's why people get frustrated with the timeline being as slow as it is, but also realize that we are looking to change the whole global economy. I do think I think it's important for us to remember it does happen overnight. Great depressions happen overnight. Things happen overnight, and change happens quickly. A lot of times it feels quick because the flow, that the water started as a trickle and it cracked the dam like over time. It just took a long time to see the cracks in the dam. But once you see the cracks in the dam, a lot of times the dam goes very quickly. So I think it's just important for us to keep hope in that context, like, and keep the water flowing the right direction and make sure when the dam breaks quickly, we've given people some higher ground to run to and help them along and help the people who can't run. So anyhow, that's my new analogy. And we don't need everybody. We just need the right offers and needs, and we need people to jump in and play. And that's where we are right now. And globally, I think people are recognizing that and are ready to go. So hopefully that pans out this way.